You're watching News Central Television. This is News Now. I'm Joe Hanson, and here are the top stories for this hour. Nigerian government increases procurement fees for international passports. Long queues persist in fuel stations across Nigeria as petrol shortage enters fourth day. Former Tunisia's presidential hopeful arrested over illegal border crossing. Do well to stay with us to get the stories after the break. Let's begin by telling you that the federal government has increased the fees for the procurement of Nigerian passports with effect from the 1st of September 2024. A statement by the spokesman of the Nigeria Immigration Service, DCI, Kenneth Udo, says the increment is a part of the government's efforts to maintain the quality and integrity of the Nigerian standard passport. He said that based on the review, a 32-page passport booklet with 5-year validity previously charged at 35,000 Naira will now be 50,000 Naira, while a 64-page passport booklet with 10-year validity, which was 70,000 Naira, will now be 100,000 Naira. The statement further adds that the fees remain unchanged for Nigerians in diaspora. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has said President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has effectively mortgaged Nigeria's future to himself, his family, and associates to an extent that after he leaves office, it would be nearly impossible for the nation to break free from his shackles. Atiku, who was the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate in 2023, compared Tinubu's integration of his business interest into Lagos's public enterprises to his efforts at the federal level in a statement yesterday by his media office in Abuja. He expressed astonishment at the operations of the NNPC and how the government-owned oil company had put its retail arm under the control of OVH, a company in which Owando, led by Wale Tinubu, owns 49%. To political matters now, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has dismissed claims that he is on the verge of joining the All Progressives Congress. The minister, during a media chat in Abuja, bared his mind on several issues, including the crisis in Rivers State, South Nigeria, accusing the governor of willfully disregarding the laws of the state and refusing to obey court orders, barring him from several unconstitutional actions. Amadine Uyi reports.
The media chat was an opportunity by the FCT minister of bearing his opinion on national issues, matters related to the crisis in the People's Democratic Party, and his impasse with the governor of Rivers State. He cleared the air on infrastructural development in satellite communities in the federal capital.
In all the rural areas today, which has not been the case, you can't find roads. And how do you talk about agriculture when there's no road? How do you convey the produce? How? So we make sure that, look, if we're really talking about agriculture, there must also be road infrastructure. That's why if you go to the 6 area councils, go and see the openings. Go and see the openings.
He also described the events in his native Rivers State as impunity by the governor, accusing him of willfully disregarding several court orders, calling him to stop his actions.
That you want to take control of a state. It's natural in politics. Is that why you should allow impunity? A court pronouncing that you do not build budget. Whatever budget you said you have, it's not on the void. And you say we should fold our arms and then watch. Nobody should say anything. I have no problem. Let court make a pronouncement.
He then dismissed questions, asking him of his intention to quit the People's Democratic Party, saying he will see the end of the crisis.
I have told you that I don't want to wait for any fight. I will stay there. Where? I will fight it out.
In the PDP?
Yes. Who am I going to run for? The vampires? How can you say that? Anybody who knows me knows too well. If I want to join APC today, why would I? When I was there in PDP, didn't I say that, look, I will not support the presidential candidate? Did I do it secretly? All those people who are saying those things, did they bring one member that won election? I'm a PDP member.
All right.
The law must be followed before we go. But if you think that you can go and sit down somewhere and say you will do this, you cause crisis for yourself.
All right.
The minister says that the FCT is investing in agriculture and has concluded plans to go into large-scale cultivation of farmlands to boost food security. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
The opposition People's Democratic Party has thrown its weight behind the call for former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan to join the presidential race for 2027. 4 days ago, Bauchi State Governor Senator Bala Mohammed also lent his voice to the agitation, vowing to jettison his presidential ambition if Jonathan agrees to contest. Reacting in an interview, the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Ibrahim Abdullahi, said the positions of the Bauchi governor and northern elites resonated with the opposition party. When reminded that the decision may not go down well with PDP former presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, who has been labeled a serial contester by the ruling All Progressives Congress, the PDP spokesman kicked. But the ruling APC disagreed, saying it was too early for any party to be talking about 2027. Earlier, we're joined by President Center for Rights and Grassroots Initiative, Nelson Ekujimi, and he had this to say.
You want to think that we're just a year into the present administration, that if anybody is interested in running for that office, that one should wait for the political activities to kick off. But knowing politicians for who they are, it is not out of place that even immediately after the last election, that some people are already dusting, their boots and ready to enter into the ring again for another electoral activity. So if you ask me, I think it is too early, but if people feel that they want to throw their heart into the ring, well, it's not unconstitutional. It's within their power. It's within their rights, if you ask me. So I don't see the call as having any effect on the political temperature.
In the meantime, the People's Democratic Party has inaugurated 2 critical committees to enforce discipline within the party and promote unity. The committees inaugurated at the PDP National Secretariat in Abuja includes the Reconciliation Committee, chaired by former Governor of Osun State, Olagunsoye Oyinlola, and the Disciplinary Committee, chaired by Tom Ikimi. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Another convergence of the largest opposition party in Nigeria, the People's Democratic Party. The PDP has inaugurated 2 critical committees, which are a Reconciliation Committee and a Disciplinary Committee. The Reconciliation Committee, according to the party, will collaborate with other party organs to resolve internal disputes and conflicts, foster harmony among members, and promote cohesion. The Disciplinary Committee, on the other hand, is tasked with addressing misconduct and ensuring accountability within the party.
The fact that your act can injure the party. You know about Damagun, I may leave tomorrow, but the party is still there. I know this seat is a hot seat. My predecessors have had the same this thing. I'm taking my own version, of the heat. I'm not deterred.
The leaders of the new committees assured party faithful that they will uphold laid down ethics and values.
May I use this opportunity to express my profound thanks to all these members of the committee for their wonderful cooperation and dedication to all our tasks. The Disciplinary Committee can only operate as directed by the National Working Committee. All matters that were referred to the main committee since its inauguration were promptly attended to. I was aware, of course, of so many matters freely discussed in the public domain, but they were never referred to the committee.
I, therefore, appeal to all of us here and millions of our followers at home, north and south, to let us recognize that our differences can and should be used as a spur to recreate the party back into its pristine reputation as a winning machine.
The inauguration, according to many party faithfuls, marks the significant milestones in the party's commitment to good governance, national well-being, and resolving its internal disputes. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
The Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center and the Transparency International has described the recent allegations bordering on terrorism and treason leveled against the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress by the Nigerian Police Force as a desperate attempt to silence the labor union. The two organizations, while reiterating their support for the police in its efforts against crime, however, frowned at the invitation of the labor leader by the police. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Members of the organized labor chanting songs of solidarity, expressing their determination to defend their leader, currently on the radar of the Nigerian police, bordering on allegations of terrorism and treason.
Comrades, this organization belongs to all of us. Therefore, we should do everything possible to safeguard the sanctity of this organization. We therefore thank you very much, and you should be calm and wait for further directives by our leadership. Whatever happens, we will communicate to your leadership, and your leadership will communicate to you. So we urge you to remain calm and go back peacefully to your working place and await further directives.
The unfortunate development is not going down well with the civil society community in the country, as they expressed their concerns.
This is important that police do this in an open and transparent and credible way, so that Nigerians can believe in our security agent and also institution. Failure to do this, Nigerians will continue to create doubts about the integrity of the Nigerian police. The second concern that we have is that Nigerian police is able to mention the NLC president or to accuse him of financing terrorism. But we know terrorism has been going on in Nigeria at least for a decade now. And government has not been able to point out one single person and be able to prosecute that person. But today, because the NLC president is leading a popular struggle and demand to improve the welfare of Nigerian workers, is now being accused of being a terrorist financer.
The NLC has promised to resist the attempt by the police, saying it will not be intimidated. It has put its affiliate unions on alert for a nationwide strike. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, has requested assistance from the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, and the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, to secure the release of Dr. Ganiyat Bukbola, a registrar at the National Eye Center in Kaduna State. Dr. Bukbola was abducted on December 27, 2023, along with her husband and nephew. While her husband was released in March, Dr. Bukbola and her nephew remain in captivity. The abductors have maintained contact with the family, and the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has been advocating for Dr. Bukbola's release. The association has threatened to go on strike if she is not released by August 26. Minister Pate has sought the intervention of the NSA and IG to ensure Dr. Bukbola's safe return. Moving now to our next story, Robo Renaissance Society, a college of robo professionals across the globe, has called on the Nigerian military to release the President General of the Ewu Urobo Kingdom, Professor Arthur Ekpekpo. He was allegedly arrested on Sunday in connection with slaying 70 military personnel by unknown gunmen around Okwama community in Delta State. The group, while picking holes in the alleged arrest of Ekpekpo, a lecturer with the Delta State University, Abraka, charged the military authorities to go after the true killers of the gallant military personnel and enemies of the Nigerian state behind the dastardly act. Ekpekpo, an indigene of Okwama and President General of Ewu Urobo Kingdom in Ueli South local government area of the state, and 6 other leaders of the now destroyed Okwama community were allegedly arrested at different locations in Delta over their alleged connection with the murder of the gallant officers. Amidst growing efforts to reconcile with Borno, Boko Haram fighters, Borno's community leaders and members are advocating increased economic support to sustain peace and stability. The call comes as reconciliation programs are implemented to integrate repentant insurgents back into society. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
Discussions on the de-radicalization and reintegration of former Boko Haram insurgents continue. This is as over 162,000 of the insurgents and other victims of the insurgents willingly handed themselves to the Nigerian government.
Their leaders, actually, they give them false meaning and the interpretation of the Quran, of which, they are already used to it. Before you have to react to what they are saying, you have to use the Quranic interpretation, the good Quranic interpretation.
Kudai awala gade gwamnati sidin kudu sarayya cha zauren gala mambeji shima umma community do walta yamada community shima da a sendiro bayan cha zauro duna wara tidina zauren gala kala amma da ba ta sanai kudu tuwan zare ta watsanai nduso yin nozana kawo dul da ta sai ndiro kararo rangam lumba na kilomita uwara ka da lumba rinba amma kama bare tidin balaro mai kujila dim isimin.
Community representatives argue that without substantial economic opportunities and support systems, there is a risk of undermining the progress made in peace building.
There is need for government to step up and provide, full, access to our farmlands.
By coming together, we can ensure that the wounds of the past are healed, and that our communities are united in their pursuit of a brighter future. Through the implementation of the CBRR policy, popularly known as the Borno Model for Peace, Reconciliation and Development.
The one-day workshop on reconciliation and reintegration also focused on practical solutions to build bridge of understanding between communities and repenting insurgents.
I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all our partners, especially the UNDP, who is the implementing partners for this particular activity through the Regional Stabilization Facility for Lake Chad Basin.
Lasting peace is what the stakeholders strive for as discussions continue across communities. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
You're watching News Now here on News Central. Go on a break. When we come back, we'll bring to you more stories. Stay with us. And thanks for staying with us. It appears the continued depreciation of the Naira is one of the reasons some Naira notes are almost inactive. Thus, many Nigerians no longer care about what caused their present predicament, but are more interested in what must be done to fix the problems. News Central's Chinwe Ogele examines the affected denominations and the impacts they have on the citizens in business transactions.
And add this to it, making it 150 naira. That's the only time I can buy anything with it in this Nigeria.
In times past, 5 naira could buy a sachet of water, a cube of seasoning, and even a box of matchsticks. Today, a sachet of water goes for 30 to 50 naira depending on one's location, while a cube of seasoning is now 20 naira and a box of matchsticks is 50 naira.
They should stop printing it because you can't use 20 naira and buy something. Because chewing-gum now is 350 naira.
I was at the Orioba market in Omahia to find out if there were items one could still purchase with those naira notes.
So this small one now you cannot. 150. My Lord and my God. It's a major concern because there's nothing. You can't buy anything 15 naira or 20 naira, even 10 naira, even 100 naira now.
Traders are lamenting that even the higher denominations are almost worthless these days.
Nigeria, if 1,150, ego about zero. Like when here now we paint of before the price of 3,000. 5,000, but we want 10,000. At the end of the day, which is very bad.
They are overwhelmed at the rate prices of commodities escalate.
10 naira, 50 naira, this is out of stock. All the ask from 100 naira, 200 naira. A pure water is 50 naira. I had granite oil about 25 liters here. Remember, behind us here 10,000. Behind us here 53,000. Then a rebel to you to 17.
Financial educator Godfrey Kelechuku gives insight to the reason for the predicament.
Gradually, the lower bills, the lower denominations are now, losing their value in the sense of purchasing power. And that is just one part. Inflation has really eroded the value of these notes. It shows that the higher the prices of things get to come up, the value of these notes would start having less user cases.
On why there seems to be scarcity of those Naira notes, he said the masses would also prefer to reduce the bulk of currency they carry.
Now, when you look at consumer behavior, you look at what the people are demanding. So there is no point still printing much of these things because you're using money to print them. Now you're spending roughly this amount, X amount, to print the value of this amount. Now the money used in printing or the value used in printing these notes are quite higher than the value of these notes.
The seeming extinction of some denominations of the currency is also a source of worry to the citizens. They are therefore asking the Central Bank of Nigeria to stop minting those denominations as they serve no purpose to the citizens. In Omaha for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Nigerians continue to call on the government to seek a lasting solution to the looming fuel crisis currently bedeviling the country. In Lagos, long queues could still be seen in front of fuel stations where motorists wait frustratingly in anticipation of buying petrol. News Central's Benue Akede was out in Lagos monitoring the situation as it enters its fourth day.
More frustration and anger on the faces of motorists and customers in Lagos trying to buy petrol as our coverage of the looming scarcity enters day 3. Regardless of how much the stations sell per litre, as long as petrol is available for sale, customers are willing to queue for hours.
It has not been easy at all. I'm just using this medium to plead to the government to consider the masses. It has been a long suffering. How can we go? How long are we going to go about this buying fuel today, then with the little amount you have? And at the end of the day, probably you still have to lose a ton of coming to filling station and queue. At least I've been here since 5 a.m. now. This is, what's this by the time now? This is 10 a.m. And I need to be on my duty to attend to people as well. But it has not been easy. We are using this medium to please, begging the government to consider the masses, to do whatever they can do to help us.
This recent scarcity, which has now lingered off and on for about 6 weeks, has inflicted further hardship on the citizens. Some have complained that the unavailability of petrol and fluctuation of the price has gravely affected their businesses.
Some are selling 900, 950. Yeah, I'll be here almost 1 hour now to get fuel. They have to do something about it. They have to. It's getting out of hand. It's not easy for everybody. It's not easy for us. People that you are carrying, they will not even be able to pay the money because when you buy fuel of 900, 950, you can't make the money. So almost like a week now, I have not been driving my car. Just park the car at home.
Earlier in the month, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, again attributed the scarcity to distribution and logistic challenges faced in the transfer of the product from mother vessel to daughter vessels. Though the NNPCL further urged motorists to shun panic buying as it was working round the clock with relevant stakeholders to restore normalcy, the situation on the ground suggests that motorists are running out of patience.
Nigerians are now clearly frustrated with this off and on season of petrol availability, or in this case, unavailability. They are asking that regardless of how high the cost goes, they are willing to pay. All they ask is that the product remains steadily available. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
Let's move on down to health matters. The United Nations Children's Fund says it remains committed to the well-being of children and will continue to support government in Nigeria's northeast to address issues of child malnutrition. UNICEF Chief of Field Office in Maiduguri, Tusha Rang, stated this during a child malnutrition and media dialogue in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
The United Nations Children's Fund says 2.6 million people are displaced internally in northeastern region of Nigeria. Among this figure, 400,000 children in the area are at risk of losing their lives as a result of acute malnutrition. To address this problem, UNICEF had resolved to increase the scope of its nutrition intervention.
So we will focus on the prevention component of it, and we have screening, as I mentioned, about the mid-upper arm circumference, etc., and an integrated package of services with the government and with the organization. That will be our focus, and should the child get malnourished, of course, the therapeutic foods, etc., will be the key to address the issues of malnutrition.
According to the 2023 Lean Season Nutrition and Food Security Surveillance, an estimated 511,807 children under 5 in Borno, Yobe and Adamawa are suffering from severe acute malnutrition annually, which requires an urgent intervention to save their lives.
To muna bukatan abinci irin su sabulu da su omo haka.
Sun koya mana yanda in zamu fita anguwa ko zaka bar yaron a gida zaka matse nono a kofi ka ajiye, da kuma yaro da ya sha ruwa bai kai wata 6 ba, da kuma yaron da ya sha bambancin su daban ne.
About 2.5 million children received vitamin A, just for an example. That means access is not that grave concern. So if the access is there, and the first 1,000 days includes just the exclusive breastfeeding, which is very important, followed by complementary feeding, and to be able to take a child till 2 years of age, I think much of it will be done.
We are providing counseling cards. The counseling cards is in a pictorial form, which the mothers will look at the pictures, or then they'll be able to interpret it. And we have the lead mother who is trained on the counseling cards, and she is the one facilitating the group.
At the end of the program, UNICEF had a media dialogue and capacity building sessions for journalists. The training focuses on how best to report humanitarian issues, especially of children in the region. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Let's go for another break now. When we come back, we'll tell you more here on News Now. Stay with us. Welcome back. Stakeholders in the health sector, including government officials, healthcare professionals and media representatives, have converged on Lagos to ensure that an average Nigerian has access to basic healthcare services, especially the poor and vulnerable populations. News Central's Bettina Willie reports that the stakeholders gathering was organized by the Federal Ministry of Health.
The sector-wide approach, SWAP, is a coordinated effort designed to overcome the fragmentation and inefficiencies that have plagued Nigeria's health sector for decades. This management approach is set to transform the healthcare landscape across the country.
The Honorable Coordinating Minister of Health has made very giant steps to ensure that the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund is utilized efficiently in the country, and to galvanize the various sectors and stakeholders in health to focus on one goal, to work together in one direction, to make sure that our combined effort is greater than our individual results.
The focus of this parley is to evaluate the progress made so far, as well as to discuss strategies for overcoming current challenges. Highlights of the parley included presentations on the fund's impact, as well as a question and answer session addressing concerns about fund allocation and effectiveness.
What does the media have to do with the NCDC Basic Healthcare Gateway? You are our partners. We work with you. You are our eyes and ears at the community. And we want to strengthen that partnership with the media.
We realize there is something that is missing. That is provision of medical emergency and ambulance services. You understand, whereby if you are sick, you call a number, a toll-free number, and an ambulance will be dispatched to your own house or to the point of incident, and the patient or client, as the case may be, will be picked and taken to the nearby appropriate health facility, and services will be rendered to the person at no cost to that patient or client, as the case may be. So we feel the need to have such in this country, and that is the way to go. And that is the reason why this National Emergency Medical Service and Ambulance System was introduced. Currently, we are running, it's actually been activated in some states, Anambra, Ikiti, Yobe, and we're doing very fine.
While the need for increased public awareness and community involvement to maximize the benefits of the fund cannot be overemphasized, the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund remains a cornerstone in Nigeria's efforts to enhance healthcare accessibility and equity. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Still staying with health, stakeholders have been challenged to extend more care and love to women suffering from vesico vaginal fistula, otherwise known as VVF. It is an abnormal opening between the bladder and the vagina that results in continuous and unremitting urinary incontinence. VVF is one among the most distressing complications of gynecologic and obstetric procedures. News Central's Chizoba Nyowe reports that 50 women with this disease had a life-changing experience in Plateau State. Take a look.
Just like there are factors that lead to every other disease, prolonged labor, early marriage, and in some cases trauma are some of the causes of VVF in women. Sadly, stigmatization, discrimination, and dissolution of marriages of some victims are some of the challenges these victims usually go through. They see no reason for what society throws at them. One of the victims of this disease, who narrated her ordeal, says she does not find it funny. Only occasions such as this give them hope.
I was having a fibroid, so I went to the hospital. They operated upon me, and then along the line they said there was a mistake on my bladder. They injured my bladder. Having that situation in the hospital there, many people were like not associating with me any longer, because if I sit down, my back will be welt, and then they will look at me, everybody were running away from me, to the extent that even my friends and family, they all ran away from me. So it wasn't funny. I was like, the whole world has turned against me. After the surgery, now I feel better, I feel good, and I'm like among others now.
Noting these economic, religious, and sociocultural challenges, the governor of Plateau State at an event called on stakeholders to assist victims of VVF in any way possible.
To the victims and survivors of VVF, I urge you to remain firm, resolute, and determined in overcoming your challenges. VVF is not a death sentence. It is treatable. Rest assured, we will stand with you every step of the way, providing the support you need on your journey to healing and recovery. There is great hope ahead.
Consistent sensitization and awareness creation by stakeholders, among others, will be more effective if the popular saying that prevention is better than cure still holds sway. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
In a bid to address the healthcare needs of its vast uninsured population, Lagos State introduced a scheme tagged Ilera Eko, which has already enrolled over 1 million residents to bridge the existing gap and ensure equal access to affordable health care. To further enhance its impact, Lagos State, in partnership with the State Consumer Protection Agency, says it is ready to protect patients' rights and prevent discrimination at participating health facilities. News Central's Adeshewa Udushoga reports. We'll bring you that report in our subsequent news bulletin. But let's move on now with a very interesting news as well. Economic experts in Nigeria have called on government to promptly address policy deficits that are hindering economic growth, warning that the country is sliding into a state of economic free fall. This was during the National Economic Dialogue, which is expected to the pace for the upcoming Nigeria Economic Summit in October. News Central's Joshua Imarai reports.
The National Economic Dialogue in Abuja is being convened by economic experts to reflect on Nigeria's 25 years of uninterrupted democracy and the way forward. The event fostered robust conversation on Nigeria's democratic progress and economic prospect. Stakeholders urge broad-based collaboration, calling on Nigerians to join forces with government to unlock the country's economic potential, which they say remain unrealized despite past efforts.
This dialogue at this time in our nation's history provides us with an opportunity to collectively proffer answers to critical questions that will determine the survival of our national union and define the conditions of that union.
Let us invite our countrymen and women and supporters, development partners, friends of Nigeria, such that we can mobilize resources that will fund our dreams.
Panelists at the event shed light on the grey areas in the country's economy, emphasizing the priority needs of government that requires urgent attention.
When you look at where we were in 1980, where we showed so much promise, and where we are today, you can say, do we really have hope?
The crisis is not that we're not growing. The crisis is that we have not yet taken firm control of a critical parameter, which is the population growth rate. I think the reason why we have protests and all of this conversation is that the people got left behind. We're trying to solve for problems of the future, whereas for many of them, they need to solve for problems of today.
One of the key challenges that we need to address in order to be able to move forward is this big elephant in the room about the nature of our politics and how it affects economics. But it's not just in terms of the big numbers that we see. It is that, growth must also correlate to development. And that means, what do people on the ground see and feel?
When you have a governor or a head of state deciding who is chairman of party, who is chief justice, who is president of senate, you have taken away all the checks that the system has created to make sure that that person does not become autocratic.
With the Nigerian Economic Summit scheduled for October, stakeholders are looking up to the National Economic Dialogue to set the pace for robust conversation on the nation's economic future. In Abuja, reporting for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
A Tunisian former parliamentarian who tried to stand in upcoming presidential elections before dropping out has been placed in pre-trial detention after allegedly crossing the border with Algeria illegally. Safi Said, a former journalist and a vocal opponent of Tunisian President Kais Saied, was sentenced to 4 months in prison last June for forging ballot signatures in the 2014 presidential elections. A court in Kasserine in western Tunisia ordered the detention of political activist Safi Said and a companion of his for illegally crossing the border of a neighboring country. Earlier this year, Said, who is also an author, announced his candidacy for the presidential elections scheduled for October 6 before dropping out of the race and calling the elections a bad farce. Well, let's move on now to our next story, and that will be after we come back. Taking this break, we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Guatemalan prosecutors on Wednesday filed a request to strip President Bernardo Arevalo of the criminal immunity granted to his role so he can face charges for alleged abuse of authority, the latest twist in an ongoing face-off between the two sides. The prosecutor leading the charge against him, Rafael Karunchi Cheche, said that Arevalo needed to answer allegations that he gave illegal instructions to his former communications minister, Jasmine De La Vega, about payments to construction companies hired by the previous administration. Prosecutors presented a leaked recording of the alleged conversation. However, Arevalo denied the allegations in a statement through his social communications officer, saying Mr. Kurichiche's nonsense has no basis for any sort of penal requests.
Sí, prácticamente sí es una venganza, pues porque prácticamente los poderes que tienen ellos ya se están tocando, los intereses que ellos tenían económicos ya no los están percibiendo como antes. Pienso que el presidente actual o los gobernantes actuales no están haciendo como lo que hacían otros gobernantes, de que les daban dinero a las personas, a las instituciones, a los diputados para poder tener votos a favor.
¿Qué piensas de esto?
Pues a mí me parece bastante bien, ¿verdad? Porque pues tuvo un gran auge la presidencia, pero realmente no hemos visto muchos cambios y me parece una...
Super Eagles of Nigeria are expected to resume camping in Uyo on September 1 ahead of the 2025 AFCON qualifiers against Benin Republic and Rwanda. The backroom staff will be in Uyo from September 1 and are expected most of the players to arrive in good time. The three-time African champions will welcome the Cheetahs of Benin Republic on September 7 starting at 5 p.m. at Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyo and fly out to another 2026 World Cup qualifying rivals Rwanda 3 days later for a second AFCON qualifier. They are currently without a coach, with the Nigerian Football Federation stalling the appointment of a new handler following Finidi George's exit from the saddle in June. The president of the Benin Football Association, Muthurin De Shakas, has threatened to withdraw his country's club from participating in the CAF inter-club competitions if Cotton FC and Daje FC fail to make it beyond the preliminary round. Cotton FC won the 2023-2024 Benin League season and qualified to represent the country in the Champions League, while Daje FC finished second to play in the Confederations Cup. Both clubs recorded an impressive result in the first leg of the preliminary round. Cotton picked away a draw against the Douanes of Senegal, while Daje FC held Nigeria's El Kanemi Warriors to a 1-1 draw. Chakas on Wednesday stated that he will consider withdrawing the clubs from participating in the interclub competitions for at least 3 years and prepare for a better future. French defender Pierre Kalulu has joined Juventus on a season-long loan from AC Milan, the Turin Giants announced on Wednesday. A 24-year-old has made 112 appearances for Milan since signing in 2020 after coming through the academy at Ligue 1 club Lyon. Juventus have an option to buy Kalulu permanently for 14 million euros, that's $15.6 million, at the end of his loan. Thiago Motta's Juve made a winning start to their bid for a first Serie A title since 2020 at the weekend with a 3-0 victory over Como. Finally, 2 times Olympic champion Armand Duplantis soared to another victory in his illustrious resume, winning the City pole vault competition on Wednesday to open the Lausanne Diamond League meeting. A 24-year-old cleared a meeting record of 6.15 meters 2 weeks after he captured his second consecutive Olympic title with a stunning world record 6.25 jump in Paris. The Swede needed just 4 jumps to clinch Wednesday's victory with a height of 6.0, then had the bar raised to a meeting record of 6.15, clearing it on his 3rd attempt. Olympic silver medalist Sam Kendricks of the U.S. cleared 5.92 for 2nd place. Norway's Sondre Gottesman, Australia's Curtis Marshall, and E.J. Obiena of the Philippines finished in a 3-way tie for 3rd with 5.82. Duplantis wowed the Stade de France crowd at the Paris Olympics when he broke the world record for a 9th time. What a good way to end the news. And that's it for this hour. But before we go, let's take a look at the major stories once more. Nigerian government has increased procurement fees for international passports. Long queues have continued to persist in fuel stations across Nigeria as petrol shortage enters day 4. Former Tunisia's presidential hopeful has been arrested over illegal border crossing. You can be part of the news by sending in your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can follow us on all social media platforms at News Central TV. Watch us live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV. You can stream live on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'm Joe Hanson. Good morning.